Well, it was a sad week in Prince George's County where a 14-year veteran on the police force was shot and killed while trying to protect a neighbor from her dangerous husband. Corporal Mujahid Ramzadan was off on the day 37-year-old Glenn Tyndall allegedly killed him. Ramzadan's funeral was at the Dianet Center of America in Lanham yesterday. Officers lined the streets, actually Friday that was, officers lined the streets to salute the corporal who leaves behind his wife and 4 children. Now, Tyndall was killed in a shootout with police. He had a history of domestic violence and a long criminal history. There were 3 open warrants against him at the time. In fact, he was supposed to be arrested the day Ramzadan was killed. Now, that tragic story, of course, is sparking conversation about domestic violence and how to end it. Well, this morning we have Dr. L.J. Samuel, a criminologist who's worked with the D.C. Police Department for more than 10 years. She also teaches self-defense classes and holds workshops that help women reduce the chances of domestic violence. And this morning we want to welcome you and thank you so much for waking up to come in.
Thank you.
So we want to talk about this. I know that these calls are pretty scary ones for police. In fact, I found an article that talked about some of the scary moments when they respond to these domestic violence calls happen while approaching the abuser and while attempting an arrest. So what are some ways that officers and victims can keep safe with your experience?
They are very complex situations. They're highly volatile and highly unpredictable, but the best thing is to have information. So information about the house, warrants, really knowing whether or not there are weapons in the house. And it's not a call that you ever want to do by yourself because it's so unpredictable. That will help both the officer and the victim, and then for the victim leading up to that to have a proper escape route and just really knowing the signs early before it escalates to what happened last week.
Speaking of the signs here, I want people to check out a couple statistics that we pulled when it comes to domestic violence. Some of these statistics include the fact that an average of 20 people per minute are abused by a partner, and that's more than 10 million men and women a year. What are some of the red flags and situations of domestic violence, which isn't always just physical?
Absolutely. One of the things that I tell people in workshops and the training that I do is to really know the signs early, because a lot of the times, it's hindsight, you push things aside because you were in love or infatuated, but oftentimes they have a history. So to really know your partner's history early. When you start seeing that they're exhibiting jealousy, controlling behavior, possessiveness, perhaps telling you how to dress, who you can speak to, who your friends are, those are huge red flags. And oftentimes those are exhibited early. But also for friends and family members to be aware, because oftentimes they are the ones that notice and may approach the victim. Once you really kind of pay attention to those signs is when you can really start healing and doing something about the situation.
Excellent advice there. You started a violence reduction program called Cupid's Sting. And
yes.
This is, in 2015, you came up with the idea, you noticed that this was happening a lot. Now,
yes.
You weren't a cop, but you worked very closely with officers with the D.C. Police Department for
Correct.
more than 10 years.
Correct.
Tell us about this program, and you've worked with the women. You teach self-defense classes, you hold workshops that talk about interpersonal violence. So talk about that and the impact that you've seen that have on women.
Sure. So Cupid's Sting is an interpersonal violence reduction program. So it's an educational platform. So as you said, I teach self-defense classes, workshops on dating abuse, domestic violence, interpersonal violence. But what I really wanted to do was create a space where women were comfortable, non-judgmental. They could come to scream, cry, yell, and learn in that environment. And what I've learned and seen, and as these women have blossomed, is that it increases their overall awareness of what's going on in their lives, the overall issue and the magnitude of the issue, and then increases really their confidence levels with some of the skills that I'm teaching them. And that really they can teach their family members, their kids, their co-workers, but it's really been a huge confidence boost for those that come through the classes.
We have just a couple seconds left, but I know that you're turning this program into a nonprofit. It's called the Cupid Sting Launch. Quickly, March 14th.
March 14th, Southwest Bid, 424th Street. It's a fundraiser. We're trying to empower the community, introduce the program to the community. Please come out. On Eventbrite, cupidstinglaunch.eventbrite.com.
And we're going to get all that information
awesome.
on WSA9.com. Well, Dr. Samuel, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for
really
having me.
It.